Welcome back to Football Coach, episode 17. We've reached the end of offseason, about to roll into signing day, so the big moment of truth. We have 14 scholarships remaining. I've narrowed it down to a possibility of taking up to 17, so we are not obviously going to get all the way up there, but that's because there is some uncertainty out there. Now, I'm at 35 recruits. There's literally no one else to go after that isn't already behind an automatic that would be beyond anything we can get. There's nothing worthwhile to go after, and we don't have the ability to, besides offering scholarships, because we certainly do have that possibility for 5 more, but there's no one that doesn't already have scholarships offered that we have any chance of competing with. We can't steal away anybody when we don't have the ability to go out and pitch them any further to overtake anyone. So we're at our limit. But of those 35, well, there's a handful that we are completely out of. There is absolutely no way I could have just easily deleted them off the list because there wasn't any realistic way to get in. But you never know. Maybe, just maybe, other school will max out their scholarships, eliminating that competition, putting them in our hands, as we saw the opposite happen last season, where we had a running back locked in, but I had reached my maximum number of running backs, and so even though we won, he went to Duke. I'm hoping to get the opposite of that for us in one of those cases. Otherwise, we have no chance for those 5, but they're very much near the top of the list because they would be good ones. There's a reason why I went after them. That brings us down to 30. Of those 30, there's probably a good 10 that we won't win. It's not impossible, but unlikely. And so that brings me down to maybe 20, of which I'm looking at 17 that I'm targeting. We're only going to be able to accept 14 though, and we are easily going to hit that mark. We've got enough in those 20 that are very, very highly likely that we will get our complete class. Starting from the back of the list, the bottom 5, the least likely to end up getting signed but would be automatics, are a handful of B- transfer targets, the last 2 being some redshirt freshmen and then a few true freshmen. The irony of one of these is our tight end from our team, from our squad that we had signed a year ago, was a true freshman, only developed a little bit, as the only tight end that's out there. And nobody else wants him, which is the funny thing about it. And I guess in real life there would be an alternative. But in game, when you think about it, we are the bottom program. We have the lowest prestige. We are last. We've been 0-12 most every year. So if we are the bottom of the barrel, how can somebody who can't get playing time with us go seeking playing time at another program? It doesn't make sense. There is no other program. We're the bottom of the barrel. They shouldn't want to leave us, except if it's at the other end. They're too good and they want to win, and we aren't providing that. That one makes sense. They want to go to something bigger and better and come in and start playing for us as, like, say, true freshmen, get experience, and then transfer to the bigger program once they've developed a bit. You see that a lot in real life. Players working their way up to the bigger programs and then go in as, redshirt seniors or graduate seniors. Now, of course, in real life, though, there's a lot more than the programs we have here. 78, 76, whatever the number was. There are more Division I programs beyond this, but there's also the lower divisions, and there's the junior colleges, and you can go in the opposite direction. You can't get the playing time for us, Mr. True Freshman tight end. You go to a smaller program. You go the reverse direction, and you get your playing time. But it would be funny if he ends up re-signing with us. Next up, we work our way into one high schooler who's below 60 overall, and then another handful of freshmen that fall into the B category instead of the B- category. And again, these are all just the backups of the backups to fill out if we can't get who we want, which then starts with the higher classifications, about 24 and above, maybe number 23 and above, give or take. At 26, the only C on this list, True freshman, but he's 75 overall, and it's a kicker. Kicker has been a real problem. It's been so hard to find a high school recruit or a transfer recruit or a junior college recruit who would want to come to our program. This has been the most difficult position to recruit since the start of this thing. Then we get into good potential, but way down at 57 overall, high school recruit. I'm a lot more reluctant to take those than I was before. I'm really finding that there is a market, there is a possibility to find true freshmen that are so much better than those high schoolers with potential that I can find that are, plus 8 points and better potential. I might find a B- who's a 56, but I can find a 64 B+. That's 1 year older. For me, that makes so much sense. They're still so young. They can stay with us for a long time. They can still develop, but they're already developed beyond and have better potential. And if I can get my hands on those more frequently, our program will be the better for it. And that is a big thing that I've targeted this year after noticing that I could find those the last couple of years. This is where we start getting into either high Bs or higher overall ability ahead of time. And again, kind of across the board, we're looking at either high schoolers, not that many left that I'm going after right now, and they're largely down the list. Lots of true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, and I've avoided sophomores and beyond. So we're still young, but we're coming in with a lot more like A+ potential, 64 overall, but a redshirt freshman. Those guys a little bit down the list because then you can go after a different running back who's a true freshman, so 1 year younger, and already better. I am going to swap them. Matthews, Davidson. See, found a way to make a switch here. And in my final grouping, we've got some really, really good targets. But again, a lot of these are not going to end up happening. But some certainly will. Our number one target is an 80 overall redshirt freshman, A- potential safety. That, at least for the moment, we are the highest rated of those who have given an offer. We did go pretty big in the NIL to push this to get ahead of UCF. We've got a definite chance to sign, but it's not going to be easy. South Florida, it's clear the 3 Florida schools here are the ones going after him, but Miami, the one that probably would have had the easiest chance, hasn't gone for him, and he's leaving. He's from, see, they're all local, and we're just competing with the whole hey, we can give you playing time, and we can give you a bunch of NIL money. That would be such a steal. And remember, cornerback and safety, huge issue this last year as we had that massive drop off in quality. This would be somebody eligible for 3 years that's already one of the best players on roster. That would be a massive coup if we can get him. This is a really good, and we will get freshman quarterback. So he'll be a redshirt freshman with A+ potential and already pretty good overall. Very unlikely, but 78 overall. Here's an A, little bit older, but we're going after quite a few linemen. I think that's the only sophomore on the list. And then there's, the few shot in the dark ones, but really, really good potential. Let's get to it. Whoa, they're giving us a 70% chance. Nobody else came in and offered, so it's us versus UCF. 55 points. Come on. We didn't get him. But we will get our quarterback. Oh, everybody went after the kitchen sink. We're not going to sign this guy. 3,000 behind. 4-point victory for TCU, I think, over Houston. 35% chance on this offensive lineman. Oh gosh, somebody said who West Texas was last time. Is that Texas Tech? I think that's Texas Tech. Anyway, only 300 points behind. Only 300, but we did not get there. So we've only gotten one so far. But we did end up being the only one with an offer in. So we took our only non-B potential, but a redshirt freshman who's already an 80 overall wide receiver. So that's actually still a pretty big get for us because that'll put him right up there into definite starter territory and plenty of years to play. Okay, this is the one that I've been desperately trying to get all along from day one. That this was like the first recruit I put on the board uh, back in the preseason, and we've tried and tried and tried, but trying to beat Iowa and Wisconsin has been a real challenge when neither of them have gone in real hard for him, but they haven't had to compared to us. And look how close we got, but we didn't get there. So we're in real trouble on the kicker position. We might end up taking a walk on, possibly. I don't know if they'll put a walk on our roster. There's still one more down the list to try to get after, but huge potential. But Illinois came in. This was one of those we were there. We got in the ballpark, but couldn't get. That was the only 4-star. So we will not have a 4-star recruit. Running back. No. Not us. Definitely not getting this one. Rutgers came in way ahead of us. They didn't offer it till the final week. And another. And this is starting off terribly. We have 2 so far. One that I knew that I was going to get. So only a single one of our top candidates. But like I said, there was going to be a lot in that first grouping that were going to be hard to get. I was hoping, though, to get a few of them. So we are way behind on our signings at this stage with just 2 of 14 spots filled. But here comes our first grouping of automatics. I've sat on this guy from the very beginning because I didn't think B- was great, and I didn't think that 66 overall was great, and I didn't think that D- durability was great. But wide receiver this year, unlike other years, was a difficult one to fill. But our reserve guy, our plan B guy, did work out just fine. And it looks like we are way down the list on running back. But we'll get him. Nobody else offered, so that's good. This is out of high school kind of guys with good potential. So good gets. Just in past seasons, I would have offered these guys so much earlier. Now I'm holding off, going, well, wait, hold on. There might be better options. Can we get them? And sometimes it works out. I mean, in this case, it did, right? In this case, it worked out great. It's just taking these too early leaves you with too few spots later on. So we have a lot more in play today than we've had in past seasons. This is one that's definitely not going to pan out. We came out way behind. That was a late offer. Here, we've got a real shot, but Hawaii is way ahead. It's clear that he's going to Hawaii. I tried hard on this one. I had a really big NIL offer, but Hawaii seemed to have at least matched it, and the huge head start they had rang true, and they kept the gap. So that brings us into the last page, and we've got looks like 13 more to go through, and we have 5 signings so far. So 13 more, 5 signings. We need 9, so we should get 9 of the 13, and it's pretty clear we're not going to get this first one. Love that A+ potential, but he is a little bit older at that redshirt freshman level already. And finally, we start falling into the ones that were available. So we got a redshirt freshman, but A- potential, offensive lineman. Not great overall, and really save here as there's Davidson. And we end up taking... Ooh, no. See, there was your key. I had my 2 running backs on the list. I flipped them at the last possible moment because of the durability. I took the guy who was 1 year older, but has the A+ and has the durability, where the other one was like a 63 but an A- or B+, whatever it was, but he had low durability. There was that swap we've made since starting the episode, and it's Davidson we're going to take instead. He's just going to only give us 3 years and start with a little bit lower overall, so we'll hope that he takes a big jump and that durability helps keep him on the field when he does get to that stage. Ooh, 5. I was not that far behind. It was showing me that I was like 300 behind, and I offered something big. They must have really gone in for this guy. for me to be 1,600 behind. Yikes. Michigan State hadn't offered. This was a last second offer from them. Missed out on both of those. So where were we at? We had 5. Now we have 8. 8 of 14. And it looks like, yes, we will get there. And it's going to be a lot of true freshmen. We got 2 more high schoolers coming in. We'll get both of them signed, cornerback and linebacker. And this did get way down on that list. And here's one that I didn't expect to have competition for. South Carolina came in. I'm surprised that they're even saying we have a shot. We only were 200 behind, surprising as it were. So the only C did not come together. We did not get them. Or wasn't there another one? Was there another one on the first page? I don't remember. There was. There were 2 C's on the list that I opened myself up to. But we signed one of those 2. And these should all be signings. We're at 10. So we're going to end up with another linebacker, another offensive line, and another offensive line, which I opened myself to an additional offensive lineman. So that's one of those odd ones that we pull in, and a defensive lineman. So we didn't get everything we wanted somewhere. Let's go ahead and look at the recruiting class as a whole. We did get the maximum to get us back up to the 85 scholarships, but we get an 80 overall wide receiver, but a little less potential, but he's still young and he's already an 80. That's still a big get. And then offensive line, freshman, like that's not a great signing. That's not a great signing. The potential is not fantastic, but what we've been able to target is guys who are like a 56 overall, B minus. So a 61B, who's 1 year older, is just kind of the progression of what those guys would be. We're going to go position by position here. It's going to be a lot easier to see what we've pulled in. This one's a fantastic get, and there was actually a lot of quality quarterbacks out there and available. 3 running backs signed in the end. A redshirt freshman who's got A-plus potential, but only a 64. We've got a high schooler who's already a 66, but he's got lower potential. That was signed during the season. And then we have our high potential, lower current ability guy. And in a way, both of those are better than this one, except for the potential part is so fantastic. But he's 2 years ahead of where those guys are going to be. Wide receiver. One with high current ability, one with better potential, and younger, 2 years younger, but 14 behind and only a partial grade ahead. It's going to take him a lot to get those 14 in 2 years. 2 tight ends coming in. So we lost a 60 B minus, didn't end up bringing him in. He was beyond the scope of the 14. So we got to our limit of scholarships. There were more that would have said yes. There was definitely more than the 14 that would have said yes, but a 60 B minus true freshman, or 2 B plus guys who are in the mid 50s, they should get to 60 or beyond next year, so they'll be slightly ahead of him. Offensive line, big class, 6 in the end that we signed. We have a high school 65, but he's a B minus. We have a redshirt freshman A minus, but he's only a 63. We have a true freshman who's a 61 with B potential, and then 3 high schoolers that are all in. Oh no, not 3. There's another true freshman, 61B, and then 2 lower quality but higher potential. None of that is woohoo kind of stuff. None of those offensive linemen are fantastic. It's a really difficult position for us to recruit. Last year's coup was picking up that one offensive lineman who had pretty good current ability and potential and was still pretty young. No kicker. We didn't get the other one either. How did we not get the other one? He was so much higher on the list, and I offered. I don't know. Did I not see? Where's my second kicker? Ah, that's the South Carolina one. Okay. Didn't realize that was our second. Yeah, missed out on both. D-line. Pretty good. 2 true freshmen, 2 high schoolers, all in the B range. None of them great. 61s or 62s. In fact, the 2 high schoolers are a hair better than the 2 transfers. Linebacker. Definitely potential. And a true freshman who comes in, 6-7 points ahead of these guys. with just a little less potential. But none of those are going to help us short term. Corner, mid 60s, decent potential. Nothing great. Definitely not going to help us in the short term. And safety. This one's a pretty good signing. 69 overall, B minus, true high school kid. Man, that 80 would have been fantastic to get, though. All right, well, class was decent. The quarterback was nice. The class was decent. Alabama, Texas, LSU, top 3. We're going to be down near the bottom of the list this time. 68th? 68th is not bad. 24 in all coming in. 12 3-star guys, 3 2-star guys, and 9 transfers coming in. Last year's recruiting class had that 2 or 3 lucky steals. This year we really only had the 1 with that quarterback. Doesn't feel that good of a class. But overall, the equality, like all 24 of them are going to be able to help us. And that's one thing I've never been able to say. The whole group, all of them have either the potential or have some current ability. And there's not been any of, like last year we took 2 guys, 3 guys that were D minuses, but had some current, and that current really wasn't great. Like they were edge of give them a little playing time, but nothing much. I think we have moved in a direction where all the players could have value, could be something within this program eventually. For that, the new strategy has panned out, has worked out, has sent us in a direction where it can all help us. And that's the first time, right? Because the very first class really only had a few of those. Only had a handful. By the second class, we had maybe 8 to 10, right? So to now have all 24 have that sort of be worthwhile, it's a definite step in a woohoo direction. The only thing was we didn't have that breakthrough top end few recruits that really stood out that we had the year prior, where we were still missing. There was a few weak points last season. Now we don't have the weak points. So I'm happy about that, but I'm sad that we didn't get that top end wow factor kind of signings, or really just one of them anyway. Well, the earnings for the year came in at $30.5 million, just that conference, and those donors, and then the one out of conference new one that we scheduled this year with Nebraska. We'll make sure we have at least one again this year. But otherwise, kind of standard run-of-the-mill type season with that. So we're going to have to obviously spend some money to get back to level terms with things, and then we'll see what we have left over to spend. In the end, I used a lot of NIL money in offers, but they were in that first group of 10 that we just did not land. And so we actually only ended up spending $300K. Well, this season we're going to have no change in our attribute level, as we can't get to the next level in facilities, but we're going to definitely push in that direction. So we'll close in on level 8 with the extra money spent, which was about 20 million, or just shy of 20 million. I did add that little bit more in the coaching staff. We are nearly a year ahead on salaries now. So we'll have a $2.25 million balance, with upcoming for the season another $2.55 million being spent. So we're just $300K off of having the coverage for the coaching staff covered long term. But NIL maxed out, academics just covering the maintenance cost, and then again facilities maintenance covered and nearly to the next level. We'll get there for next season. The development, the off-season development is big. We're finding guys with potential but lacking a whole lot of current ability. I need to really push that off-season development bonus, and of course that base gain in preseason trainings is pretty big too, where we can really start pushing some athletes along the way on additional development. The scout percent was a good one. It definitely helps us in the recruiting process in that early phase. Everything here, including the recruiting benefit itself, is so worthwhile. These facilities are massive. Sticking with the money as paramount, we are going to take on Oklahoma to get the $12 million this year as we continue on with our Penn State and Nebraska contracts that are already active. This will get game number 2 of those taken away, and yeah, that's still asking a lot. But those are the only 3 active contracts we will have. At some point here, I think I'd really like to trickle in a like 1-star kind of program that we can then start farming at least one of those 2 victories a year that we need, and probably going to have to, because we are taking that negative, right? If we don't get 2 wins a year, we're taking a negative. But a 1-star program does not mean we're going to beat them. We're not that good to start guaranteeing that. So for now, we'll take the money, take the facilities. We've got to continue to recruit and develop and get our coaches a little bit better off. Fingers crossed, it's a big year for off-season gains, and it certainly is at the top. An 88 overall is definitely better than anybody we had last year, and pretty good. That's our defensive lineman. That's like the 5-star guy that we had transfer in, but 88 overall is going to be really good. And the durability, he shouldn't see an injury. 94 tackling, 100 block shedding. Oh, he's going to be a beast against the weaker teams. That's a big get for us. Here's an offensive lineman with a +9. Redshirt sophomore, wide receiver who's already up to an 83. So he'll be around for a long time. And, there's Paul Woodson. Paul Woodson, our now senior quarterback, going into his 3rd year as a starter, is going to be an 83 overall. That will be the best we've ever had at the position. Year 1, we had a senior who was an 81. So we've finally eclipsed that, finally gotten anywhere near that. We've been mid-70s like every year. Last year, 79 was the 2nd best we had. We'll have 10 players within 80 or better this season. 10. That's pretty impressive. That is quite impressive. And a couple more 79s as well. And we still have the preseason to get some more development out of some of these guys. Yeah, this is a good start. There's a number of not so great improvements here, but a lot of those were the guys with the lower potential, as it were. And we'll have 2 guys, true freshmen in the 60s, our tight end, and an offensive lineman whose improvement or potential improves. But we're already into the 70s by number 55 on our list. 74 and above by 29. Yeah, we definitely have more depth in terms of starters than any other time we've had. I think we're looking ahead to potentially a pretty good year. But at quarterback, everybody's a 70 or above. Our new transfer already a 72. Oh, that's disappointing. An A and an A-, and very little development out of those 2. Cody Warren heading into that junior year and looking like he's got no chance of taking over as the starter. Chappell at this stage is almost certainly going to be the guy. Only a 75 at running back, though, this season means yet again we're going to be weak at the spot. We've been anywhere from about a 73 to a 76 every season. We've never been above the 76, so we're still struggling to find a good running back. But all of a sudden we do have at least a few guys that are on this upper end. Redshirt sophomore at a 69. We'll get a couple years with him being influential. True freshman with a 69. Not bad there. That's definitely going to help us long term. Wide receiver. Yeah, look at that. Four receivers with an 80 plus. That's a first. And 3 guys that are definitely close behind that can step in and get some time. And we're talking about 2 sophomores amongst those 4. We're talking about 2 freshmen amongst the 4 behind and a junior. Down to just 5 tight end on roster and nobody in that upper end. Just a 75 leading the way. Only a +1 for Holmes. I mean, that's pitiful for a guy with an A potential and, being nowhere near it. That's not helpful. But what about these guys? Redshirt freshman here looking pretty good with a 70 overall. We'll take over. We would hope that he would be a 75 by next year and have a few years of eligibility for us. So Schneider is going to be pretty important going forward, and these guys need to develop a bit more than they did. Offensive line. Okay, this was a little bit of an area of concern as we were going to have quite the drop, but here is a redshirt senior with a massive plus 983 now, another 80 on the line, and a 79. So 3 quality starters with a C plus durability, a B durability, and a D plus durability. Okay, that's a little concerning, but at least there's a redshirt freshman and a redshirt junior amongst those 3 guys at the top, and then a sophomore and a junior behind that. So 1 senior, and then you don't see another senior until number 6. And actually, that's it. Just 2 seniors in the group. So we are very young at offensive line, and not bad. Not bad at all. Plenty of growth, plenty of development, and we will focus on getting some quality out of these guys. The offensive line, I think, will be pretty okay this season. And the offense, kind of as a whole. I mean, we're taking a bit of a loss at tight end, but otherwise, the offense as a whole is looking pretty okay. Running backs about the same. Wide receivers going to be stronger and deeper. Quarterback's way deeper this season. And the offensive line looks to be a bit deeper this season. With still some, okay top end talent. So the offense should be about as good, if not better, than last season. At kicker, okay, it's both redshirt juniors, and that's a worry. But we are up to an 80, so we'll be okay at the position. He is kick power, okay accuracy, punt power is good, and okay accuracy. Yeah, he'll do fine. On the D-line, 1 very, very strong 88 overall will anchor us and has the durability so we can play him like virtually every down, and hopefully he doesn't take an injury. But after that, things really start to drop off just a bit there, or a lot. And it's 3 seniors at the top, and it's a couple juniors behind. We have so much potential in a lot of the guys here. This one is a worry. Redshirt freshman, he'll probably get cut here at the end of the year. But outside of that, we're looking okay for the future, but not great. I'm not happy with kind of the drop-off and where we're at there. But at linebacker, a 79. Redshirt junior, he'll still be around for a year. Oh, look how young we are. 1 redshirt senior down here. Otherwise, top 7, top everything. Oh, one senior, period. And only a couple juniors, and one of them way down the list, too. So, getting better, getting younger, but nobody in the 80 plus, but 4 guys 74 plus. Like, they'll be okay. Maybe a hair worse at linebacker this season than last. D-line a hair better than last season. But we were really weak at corner and safety last year. So this is really important on whether we're going to get competitive again and have that chance to win some games. A 77, up from a 73. A 75, up from a 73. Definitely better, both seniors though. But here's a redshirt freshman at a 73, and we'll focus on getting him that little bit better. We're definitely stronger at the position than last year, but not amazing or anything. But this guy is going to be, Burns going to be really, really key. We're going to train him. We're going to train Mac, try to bring those guys up. And if we can get some breakthroughs with both of them, they could easily be about a 75 and be make us a lot stronger at cornerback than last year. And there's plenty of young guys not far. So we're going to just continue to get better and better at that position. And at safety, we had 176 and then a 74 and a 73. We also didn't graduate anybody here. And all of a sudden we have an 81 and a 77, who's only a sophomore, who we redshirted last year. He was a true freshman transfer or whatever that hadn't redshirted somehow. We redshirted Sylvester last year, so he only played 4 games. He'll be able to play every day now, and again, fairly young at this position, but looking a lot bigger, better, stronger than a year ago. So yes, the defense looks like it's bounced back, should be competitive. The offense, this might be the best our roster has been in, and plenty of not relying on seniors throughout the roster. Plenty of young guys, underclassmen already in and amongst the best players we've got. So very much headed in a direction where I could see us even a year from now being the best we've been and more easily getting those couple wins that we need and not just requiring a little bit of luck along the way. But only 1 plus 9 and only 1 plus 7 and 4 plus 6s, a large number of plus 5s. I mean, for that, yes, we got a lot of plus 5s. Wow, we got a lot of plus 5s all the way down to 21st with minus, what was it, like 4 guys? 5? 6. Minus 6. So, 15 plus 5s. And a lot of plus 4s as well. So for that, we did good. The disappointing thing is just the sheer number of plus 1s that we had. 9 of them. Only nine guys getting only a plus 1. And only one of them having bad potential. Harden was another one who last year potential improved at least from the F+, but Harden was somebody we redshirted last year as a true freshman, even though he was capable of playing a bit more. Yeah, 3 seniors that barely improved, and definitely the disappointing one was Holmes, as that was our main starter, not improving, and seeing one position get quite a bit weaker than last year. Yeah, right now only half of our starters are classified as seniors, and we're talking about more than a quarter are underclassmen, starters. That's a big push. That's us getting in the right direction of being able to get guys playing time early and be good, and hopefully be able to grow and develop and just get better and better and better as the years go on. Meanwhile, players by class also is us heading in that right direction, where only 35% are upperclassmen total right now. We've got 23.5% sophomores. We barely even had sophomores on the roster a year ago, and a lot of freshmen, 41%. So we've somehow gotten significantly younger as a group, and somehow managed to get a lot of them into being starters. All the while, we are possibly the strongest our roster has ever been, capability-wise, here and now. And then that depth behind them is just significantly stronger. So yes, the recruiting has pushed in a very, very good direction. The first week of preseason training has gone horribly. Only 1 out of the 6. And we had better than 60% odds for each one of the training sessions. We should have gotten, a 3 of 5 rate. We should have gotten either 3 or 4 of these guys. Really, really unlucky. The only good news, though, is redshirt sophomore quarterback Patrick Shannon jumps to a 74 overall. After a 1 for 6 breakthrough last week, we got 6 for 6, a perfect 100%. So overall, 7 out of a dozen is starting to look a lot better and about where we should be. We've scored a second straight 6 for 6 in progression, with a couple 4s, a couple 5s, and a couple of 7s in the gains department. Really, really outstanding result here. And offensive lineman, redshirt freshman Josue Pryor, 82 overall now with the extra 5 strength. And 3 of the 6 guys are starters this year, as either freshmen or sophomores. Just 2 breakthroughs this week, so the first and last week were quite awful. Overall, it was 15 out of 24, which is okay. I think that's the second weakest we've had. But again, 9 we didn't get anything on. At least they got plus 2s. So that is all panning out better than before. And we definitely saw some improvement, including in a number of starters. We were able to, this year around, having some younger guys that have made their way into the starting lineup and continuing to train them up is making our starting group even better, and not just the future, not just the depth. Wow, we got lucky. So we went through the athletic director recommending, we got into the negative. He recommended that we fire the coaches, and I didn't. I did not fire the coaches. But something within the AI and the coding just kind of assumed we did. So our coach opinion has rebounded to a neutral 50 with a standard expectation of win at least 2 games. It shouldn't have worked out that way, but it has worked out that way, and I'm kind of happy it did, because just with the way the experiment is and so many things stacked against us, at least having this one thing bounce back and be that little bit easier is helpful. What do we have for our booster things this year? Rush for 80 yards against Oklahoma. That's not that bad of a number. We averaged over 100 last year for the first time, and where we're not going to be great at the running back position, the offensive line is definitely better, and the receiving core is better, to where you might be able to just kind of gain yardage by default as the defense is more focused on the threat we present downfield. With a decent offensive line, the threat of receivers, you never know. We might actually be able to do that. And I'm liking this one, an extra $3 million if we can beat Hawaii, which we came so close last season. This is probably the 2 most likely bonuses that we have had now in year 6. And the final count on our preseason and where we stand, offensive talent is an 80. 62nd in the rankings. We have an 80 for the very first time. Quarterback play had an 83. Rushing skills only a 74 though. But run blocking, that's the part I was talking about. Run blocking is an 81. It's the highest we've ever had. Receiver skill is an 80. Is that the high? No, that's about the same as what we had last year, but we had a lot of seniors, and yet we've managed to keep that the same, and with a younger group now. Pass protection is a 79, which is about a point above where it was last year. So yeah, the offense, much better. An 80. Wow, we've never had an 80 before. Defensive talent has bounced back though. It's a 77. It's not the highest we've had. A 78 is, but it's not last. It's 74th. The pass rush is decent. Run stopping is decent. Man coverage is pretty good. Zone coverage is not, but we play man more often. And tackling is pretty solid at 81. And meanwhile, special teams is balanced and pretty good. We don't have our strong kick returner from last year. He did graduate, but I'm pretty encouraged right now about the direction that this squad is headed. Our 2 of our 4 best offensive players are only sophomores, and where defense has really had to bounce back from that difficult graduating class a couple of years ago. We do have a redshirt junior, and we do have much more talent there. And again, looking at this, not much has changed, but I'm definitely encouraged about the direction we're heading. This means this year is important, right, as Woodson's about to graduate. But there are so many guys stepping up behind him that where we were when Woodson started at quarterback as a redshirt sophomore, he was so weak. He was, a 73? I mean, we already have a 74, 73, and a 72 behind him, and then, a 70 to go with it. Next year's group, regardless of who ends up emerging out of there as the presumptive starter, will be in a much better state than Woodson was when he took over. And we get this year of him, being at his best. Running back has and continues to be a massive problem for us, but we're finally getting somewhere with some young guys that have potential and some quality and aren't far behind. We've still never had a running back better than a 76 overall. I feel like Ham is somebody who next year as a junior will be close to that mark. That Alicia will be a redshirt freshman next year with about a 73, 74 overall and competing for that starting job. So where next year's not going to suddenly be, better than we've ever had at running back, I feel the year after will be, and still with guys that are young. And wide receiver. Yeah, we've got a couple of 80s that are seniors, and we'll miss them next year. but I don't think we'll miss them severely because we have two sophomores that are already 80s. We have a redshirt freshman and junior that are close to replace those guys, where they will be better. It's an 83 over an 82. It's an 81 over an 80. So this group will be better than those two guys. Plus, these two will essentially, and possibly this one, be able to replace what we're losing out of those guys. So the wide receiver group suddenly is rolling through guys into the 80s, averaging starters that are that and better. You know, we're only going to have the one senior next year, and it's not going to hurt us, and these guys are replaceable. So I'm confident there. Tight end, yeah, problem for us. Last season we had too much quality, not enough play time, and then now we're stuck with this mess, and yet, you know, we'll be okay. This Schneider guy, he's going to be really important development-wise, though. He will be very, very important to us. But we're about to get a whole lot younger, and not necessarily weaker. If Schneider, you know, is okay, or if we can get a transfer in, that's okay. But tight end's a much less important position in our scheme, and I think I've given it too much attention of late. Offensive line, yes, we're going to lose an 83. That's a senior, but only two seniors, only two juniors. We are so much younger, and our second best guy is a redshirt freshman. You know, a true freshman that's a 71. A redshirt sophomore that's a 75. Like, yes, we'll miss Butler, but I think he'll be replaced next season. And because of how young we are, the offensive line is going to get bigger, better, stronger in the next couple of years. Kicker's going to be a huge problem, but at least they're only juniors. D-line, Marsh is going to be a huge miss. In fact, our three best guys are all seniors. So our D-line is going to be in trouble next year. But I have made the move to make us much, much younger. And these guys are all between a 65 and 67, where recruitment-wise, we're talking about high 50s to low 60s at best. So that entire group is going to be, or most of them anyway, should break through into the 70s next season. And these guys should just about... I'm a little worried about next year for the D-line. But in a couple of years, I think we'll be great. Linebackers, only one senior, three better players behind them, so we'll be fine there. We've gotten younger, and where we're hurting a little bit from, we did have somebody 80 plus last year, I think. We'll miss that a little bit this season, but we already noted that our defense is better than it was last year, and this group's going to be stronger next season and the season after and the season after. So we are into a new era for the linebackers. That's going to be bigger, better, stronger. Corner was terrible last year with our best guys at 73. And yes, this group will graduate this season, but look how we've gotten better, stronger. 73 was the best we had. We've already got two guys, two underclassmen that are better than that, three underclassmen that are as good as that, four that are within a point of that. And even our worst are not far off from what we had a year ago as starters. And then safety is bigger, better, stronger, and yeah, we'll miss Landers, but Sylvester might be that good next year. So outside of what will hurt with the absence of Marsh, the defense is going to continue to grow and be stronger in a year. The offense, outside of tight end, will be better and stronger, and outside of Woodson graduating will be better and stronger. So next year is looking like an up year compared to this year, and this year is a massive up year compared to last. This might be the strongest. We've had a 78-78. I think 80-77 is the strongest combination we've ever had. Fingers crossed we'll be able to get our couple of wins, if we're lucky 3, so that we can actually see the opinion grow, or at least get those 2 wins and hold steady. And then, of course, we got lucky and saw this rebound from a negative number back to a 50. He's done a mental reset, and we're ready to move on, move forward with a schedule that's always tough, because we schedule our 3 out of conferences as difficult as they can come. So we open the season with one of those out of conferences, a number 5 overall Penn State. But We have Colorado, 82-80 this year. Arizona State, 81-82. Neither one of those looking terribly manageable. UCLA is definitely not going to be easy, 83-85. Penn State's an 83-85 as well. Nebraska, our next out of conference, 84-86. And then Stanford, 82-83. So that's 3 teams we have in that same range that are all going to be difficult. 2 of those on the road at Hawaii as well. 81-80 this year, 80 plus in both departments. They are really knocking it out of the park for just a 2-star program with their recruiting. They've had a bowl game and they've had 4 wins every season. They're hard to match up with. Arizona right now is looking like the first most winnable game. At 4 of 5 of our closer matchups are on the road. Really tough draw on that because we have 6 home games, but they're against really good teams like Oklahoma, 83-85, Utah, 83-82, Cal, 85-83, and USC, 85s across the board. Getting our 2 wins is going to be tough. We have 5 opportunities, just 4 of them are on the road. That might be a better thing, though. They go into those games overconfident, and if we're lucky, we can surprise. It's not going to be easy getting those 2 wins, though. To wrap this episode up, our recruiting has already given us some good outcomes with a kicker that we've moved right up to number 2 on the list. But if Oregon goes after him, it's going to be a difficult one to secure the signing of. But Loyal, dream target for us at this stage. A pretty good safety that we will be able to get. Running back and wide receivers that we will be able to secure. A second kicker that we can get after who's got a little less potential but starting a little bit higher up overall. Hopefully one of those 2 guys will be able to sign with us and we can move on from that desperate years-long need, as we're down to just 2 guys on roster now, and both are juniors, redshirt juniors. And then, drop it down a little bit lower. We've got plenty of guys already identified in that B range, and then a number of B minuses. For now, I'm hanging on to a C plus because it's an offensive lineman who's already a 70. I was taking D minuses that were 69 overall a couple seasons back. So a 70 C plus is quite a step up from that. I don't know if that's something I want to hang on to long term, but that's where we're at for the moment. Still scouting actively, going after others as I'm getting into the season. So I haven't done my recruiting for this week yet and haven't played that first game yet. And we do have a couple here that have just come back from camp that are ready to delete off the list. But 1 more B minus showing up in this group at linebacker, but only a 58. Here's a B plus who's a 59. Definitely a more serviceable option, and the only one that we would be going after, and we only have a need for 1, so I can eliminate the B minus, who's also a linebacker, who's 1 worse. Of course, we don't know if his quality is going to be 58, but the B plus is going to help keep him around. There's a second one, a 74 offensive lineman, which is like 5th starter, C potential, but will develop. I might need to shore things up. We'll see if those become necessities or not, but definitely not these weaker ones. And we signed so many of these in the past. I think we're definitely headed the right direction without them. For the moment, that means we have 17 of our targets secured. Filling out the other 23 spots continues to be a revolving door of scouting. We won't get the camp bonus anymore, but these guys are already at 25. These guys were starting that process, and 1 gets them within 2 weeks of figuring it out, though this guy won't. It'll take longer, so let's just get it out of the way. There we go. That's kind of the process of just looking and trying to find early on somebody manageable, somebody worth hanging on to. There's one that had already had some interest, so we were able to lock him down a little faster. But now I have 11 spots to fill in as I continue to look to add beyond the 17 and get those guys with that potential and not throw offers at them as early, except for, a few of these guys are obvious offers. These kind of few guys at the top, you really want to get after those and try to get them signed. Beyond that, hanging onto those offers for that transfer season, being a little more selective in this phase is the plan kind of going forward. But definitely it's a lot of scout with the back end of that list until you find whether they have potential or not. That's going to do it for this episode, though. Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.